We are in the middle of a session all about email communication. Throughout the year, we look at different strategies, how you can promote your art, how you can get your art out there, how you can start connecting with your art audience. And email communication is one of those strategies, one of those ways to communicate in our day and age, where we used to do pen and paper, send it with the mailman. Now we are sending emails. And that's what we're going to be looking at in this session, and honing in on the anatomy of the effective email. Because we can send all those emails, but if no one's opening them or reading them or engaging with them, it's such a waste of your time and energy. So we're going to look at the effective email. Just going to see who's tuning in. I see people are tuning in. Hello, Anya from London, who's a figurative oil painter, who is working in abstract, and you can look at she's a figurative, but is willing to go abstract. And please look at Anya's beautiful art on her website. And Jan is here. Great that you could make it, Jan, from Almere. So that's in the Netherlands, not too far from here. And added your URLs. Well, great. So we can have a look at each other's work. An anatomy of an effective email. That's this week's what we're focusing on. But before we get started with that, I just want to briefly share a little bit about myself. I know there are new people in the community that have been joining, and they are often asking, what motivates you to do what you're doing? I am living in the Netherlands, not too far from Amsterdam, originally from Cape Town, South Africa. I love all things creative. I'm an artist myself, went to the art academy, learned to paint and draw, but no idea how to sell my art. So I can totally relate if you're in that space, not knowing how to get your art out there. And I've turned all that I've learned through the years into a course, 12-week course, but also different programs as far as coaching is concerned. I have a podcast, just getting structure around your creativity. So it's not just making your art, but how you're going to get it out there, how you're going to connect that what you're making with your art audience. That's what I'm passionate about, because I really believe that being an artist is important. We need our art and artists in this time to share the creativity, to be that voice, to be our conscience, to share and inspire and educate. There's so many ways that artistry, art, and creativity can just add so much flavor and spice to our lives and to our world. And it's not, it's important that you don't only make your art, but that you can sell your art. And that's what I'm passionate about, really just sharing systems so that you can get more structure. I have resources on my website. There is a whole platform that you can go and have a look, soniasmallhere.com. So please head over there after the session. Have a look at the different podcasts that are out there and resources. Also my course that comes out once a year. You can join the wait list, and you can stay tuned to when the dates are for the release and opening for the course. You are part of the Facebook community. That's why you're here. Thank you for being part of the community. This community is here for you to share your work, share your expertise, your tips, your experiences. I see some wonderful conversations happening also this last week, or where people are helping each other. So if you have any questions, please just put them in the Facebook community. And also we have a Q&A possibility in this live session. So if you have questions that you want me to answer in the live session, then please also just add them to the feed in the Facebook community, and then use the hashtag Q&A. So Q&A. And then I can filter them and then have a look at the questions, and we can talk about it here in the group. Unfortunately, we can't communicate directly. We need to use this program. That is, sometimes I think I'm talking to myself, but I'm glad I have the comments here so I can see there are people in the house and are available. And please, use that commentary so we can chat about the things we're going to be looking at. We have a series all about emails in the month of June. We talked about the power of email communication last week. This week we're going to be looking at the anatomy of an effective email. So join me the whole month of June if you want to find out more about email communication, different kinds of emails, how you can grow your email list, and how you can use your email list to promote and sell your art. Let's hone in on the anatomy and what constitutes and makes an effective email. All emails are different, and I just want to ask the people you that are here, have you taken steps? I know some of you were in the session last week. Have any of you taken steps to get your email up and running, your email list up and running, to write emails? Has anyone sent an email for the first time, or maybe the first time after a long time of not sending anything? Anyone taken action in the community as far as your email communication? Then I'd love to hear about it in the comments, and just say yes or no, or still busy, or no idea what I'm doing. Use that comment here. I'd love to know if anyone has taken steps to send emails. An email, the first email, because I know there's a lot of apprehension about using emails, but it is a very distinct strategy that you can use for your art business. And throughout these sessions, I've highlighted certain kinds of strategies, and strategy is something that you do intentional. You're not just doing it because I say so, or the marketing world says so, or you think it's a good idea. You see other artists doing it, but you're going to use it as a strategy, which means you're going to do something very intentional. Anya says she has not yet sent an email, but it's in the plans. Dida says not yet, waiting for the tips for this afternoon. There we go, Dida. So next week we can hear all about your email that's been sent. Rebecca says, yes, I have. And Rebecca, do you have a possibility that we can opt into your newsletter so that we can join your list and read and see more about what you're doing? Then please let us know where we can join your list. I'd love to read what you are saying. Yes says, no, I don't have an email list yet, but trying to figure out to get the website going. Then the email list. Yeah, that's very clever. You need a platform, of course, to house an opt-in form where people can connect with you. So that's once you get your website up and running, yes, you can add that opt-in form to build your email list. No, for my own business, but I didn't opt in for the list for artist friends from the Working Artist Alumni. Okay, so Jan, you are taking steps, and I'll be checking that out. Well done. A strategy, and that's something I really want to share with you also in this community, is that you do things intentional. Depending where you are in your artist path, depending on what your goals are, what you want to achieve in your art business, you need a strategy, you need a path, you need steps that you can take so that you can start building an audience, sharing your process, and interacting on a far deeper level, not just social media, because that can be quite fickle. You need to have more points of contact with your art audience and potential art buyers. And the 3 strategies we look throughout these sessions is the in-person, which is a very powerful strategy, still very effective, and it's going to be more and more possible as the doors open. But this last year, we have been sort of restricted to the online space, using our website, social channels, other platforms, third parties, and then email. And that's what we're focusing on in June. Briefly recap, last week we looked at different kinds of traffic, and traffic is the organic traffic. Just think of the roads around you. There's all kinds of cars and bikes and people. There's all kinds of traffic. How do you get that traffic? If we can translate that to your art business, how do you get that traffic onto your website? How do you get that traffic onto your social channel? How do you get that traffic onto that third-party platform? And there's traffic that you have no control over, traffic that you have control over, and there's traffic that you can own. And it goes without saying that option number 3 is the best option, because you have far more influence over who is seeing your content. Last week I shared 2 that you can put 5 computers next to one another, open the Facebook app, and every computer will see different content, because the algorithm arranges content depending on how, what you're following, your likes, your shares, and the engagement on your website. So there's no guarantee that your art audience will see your content, will see your latest works, will see that you're opening an exhibition. There is no guarantee. So you don't have much control over that. But when you're sending an email directly into someone's inbox, you have more control. So that email, that is an important strategy. And you might be a little bit apprehensive. And I found there's two kinds of art entrepreneurs. There's the ones that have made email communication foundational for their business. And then those people that are saying, no, thank you. I don't want to be invasive. I don't want to send emails. I'm just going to use my social channels. So those are two that I've been hearing. Of course, extremes. Somewhere in the middle is also possible. Why are people a little bit apprehensive about using email marketing or email communication or using it as a channel? Last week, I asked that question too, and there was a whole array of answers. And maybe you are new to the session. Then let's just briefly have a look, and maybe you can recognize yourself. Maybe you're saying, I'm an artist, Sonia. I don't want to write. I just want to paint. I want to sculpture. I want to draw. I want to make my art. I can totally relate. But we are living in a culture where words are important, where we are communicating through words and not only images. And you don't need to be an award-winning writer to write an email. You need to just use your voice. And we'll be looking at that briefly as we look at the anatomy of an effective email. And people say, well, I don't have anything to say. Now, that can be a mindset thing that you're thinking, well, what am I going to talk about? You can really get intentional and write and brainstorm. We talked about that last week as well. Really writing down subjects that your audience possibly would be interested in. Do a brain dump. Just write down if you were in your followers' shoes, what would you like to hear from an artist? You have an amazing profession. You are inspired. You're looking for inspiration all the time because you are, painting your paintings and making your art. How can you translate that into words? Why would anyone want to read what I'm saying? I think that's also a mindset shift that we need to make, that you have something to say, and that if you write it in the right way and that it's appealing and worth someone's 5 minutes, people will be willing to read. But it's all also has to do with how we're going to structure an email, how that anatomy comes together. I don't know what to write about. I don't have time to write. If you're making this part of your email strategy, part of your business, this should be part of your art routine, whether that's once a week or once a month or once every 2 weeks. Get those words down. You all need to find words for your art business, whether you're writing a statement, where you need words on your website. These are words. You need to actually practice to get more that it's easy for you to articulate what your art is about. And that takes practice, and it takes reading, and it takes looking at other people's statements, reading other people's emails to find words. Maybe you think you're bothering people. That's also a mindset thing. It's actually very similar to social media. People are choosing to follow you. If I've opted in, they're there for a reason, and they want to hear from you. So that shouldn't keep you from corresponding, from sending out that regular email. And that you might be thinking, I'm spamming. Spam is only something that people are receiving that they don't really want to receive. But if you're aligning and they're following you for the right reasons, it's not a spam. I've added some of the old ways of thinking and what I've just all summarized about our new way of thinking. So go through the slide. You can go look at the replay and then have a look at the mindset, maybe a shift in your thinking, in your attitude, so that you can start getting more confident about sending those emails. Every piece of communication that you're sending has a goal. Your website has a goal, your art has a goal, and also your emails have a goal. There are different kinds of emails that you'll be sending. And next week, we're looking at all the different kinds of emails, because every email has a different nuance, has a different goal. And how do you achieve your goals? By sending that email. So that you need to get clear about that. And it's good for you to ask yourself some questions. Ask yourself these questions. Why am I sending this email? It's not just because I have to. No, why? What is your reason? It might be for connection. It might be promoting. It might be inspiration. It might be someone that's just new who came to an exhibition and joined your email list. Could be a sale that you're having. Could be a new piece of news that you're having, you have a new piece of content or a new blog out. They're all different reasons. Why are you sending your email? If you get clear about that, you can really hone in your message, your words, the intent of your email. And what is the most important thing that you want to communicate? Because your email shouldn't be so scattered that there's, you want to say 10 things. People generally get quite confused if there's too many choices. You just like we've worked through our websites, have a clear goal and one or two clear calls to action, action that someone can take. And that's the same with your emails. Short and sweet, get to the point. What is it that you want to communicate? And then it's good to know who you're talking to. Once you have a better understanding of your art audience, this will influence your tone of voice. Are you going to talk very familiar? Are you going to talk formal? Are you going to use that sense of humor that you have? If you're pitching to a gallery, you might not want to crack all your jokes. You want to maybe send up a semi-formal email. Or if you want a licensing deal, or you're looking for a collaboration, that's a different kind of email than your following who hears from you regularly, that knows you, and you can then get less formal. So who are you communicating to? That depends on how many words you're going, or how the word structure is going to be. And what you want to get out of the conversation. There's always a reason you want someone to take some action. You want people to go to your website. You want people to follow up. What is it that you want? What's the outcome? So these are important questions to think of. I just want to see who's in the house, and please use the comment area if you've just joined in or joined us late. The comment area is for you guys, so please feel free to interact. Rebecca said that she has been sending an email. What kind of emails are you sending, Rebecca? And maybe like Dido and Anya, all in the plans. And yes, for the future, what kind of emails do you see yourself sending? Why would you be sending an email? Just write briefly in the comments. And also, if you're watching the replay, use that comment area. What is the reason that you would be sending an email? Of course, depending on the goal of your art business. What is it that you want to achieve with your business? And here are just a few examples. And as I said, next week we'll be looking at different kinds of emails, whether it's an informational email, engagement, inspiration, promotional, or you're building a connection. It could be a follow-up email after an exhibition. It could be an invitational email because you have a new exhibition coming. Let me know in the comments what kind of emails you potentially or have been sending in the past. Because every email has a different goal and a different anatomy, how you're going to be building up your email. So let me know if you have been sending emails. What emails have you been sending? What kind of emails? Because the more familiar and the more clear you are about why you're sending something, you can start really getting very specific about your choices, about the artwork you're using, about the words that you're using, about the tone of voice that you're using. And you'll be sending more and more emails as you make this part of your strategy. You can use it for an array of reasons. Dido says informational emails about new exhibitions or website updates. Great, Dido. Dido, you also said, I know that you've worked as an interior designer, you had your graphic business, and also you have had contact with the press. Have you used emails to communicate with clients for new commissions or for attending for a collaboration? Is it something that you used, Dido? And Dido says sometimes invitation to an exhibition. Once you get that list, guys, going and you have a following, not only on social media, but you have a list that you own because you are going to use your email service providers to communicate with them, you can really get very intentional about connecting. And this is far more direct than those fickle channels that you have no control over. So that's why I'm so passionate about the subject, because it made a world of difference for my business. And once you get, you can start writing standardized emails that you can repurpose depending on your goal. Let's see. Yes says, I'd like to connect more with clients in order to make them more interested on a longer term, and also spread the word about my work. So it's promotional, it's also interest, it's finding that connection, inform them about upcoming work, art markets, etc. I'd also like to do pitch emails to galleries, etc., with different emails. Yeah, these are all different kinds of emails. Yes, thank you for sharing, because those are all different tones of voices, those are all different audiences, and you can really hone in your message depending on what your intent is. Dida says no, usually mention it on LinkedIn. So she uses social media to connect, to get those collaborations going. Jan says the main reason for sending an email is for promotional, so new work exhibitions. And then add an item about my life as an artist to keep in touch with my art audience. More or less the items I currently write about in my blog on my website. Yeah, these are all good reasons, Jan, and I like that area about introducing yourself as an artist, because very often we think that people know about us. They can read about it on our profiles, on our websites, on our Insta feeds or Facebook. But how great is it that someone's new on your website or new on your, they've filled in that opt-in form, they're new on your email list. You send them an introduction just to tell them a little bit about yourself. You can even add an image, you can add a video insert. How personal is that? That people just hear, because you think that people know about you, your story, and then they have so much more to say, so that you can really use as an introduction email. Rebecca says, I want to inspire people. In my last email, I talked about an art book that I will be participating in. How cool is that? That you have that sort of news flash, that a little bit more of a background information about what you're doing, what your latest projects are, like your book. Really want to hear more about that, Rebecca? And Anya says the main reason would be for connection, and then inspiration promotionally occasionally when needed. Okay, so there's a whole array there of Anya for different goals. So enough reason to get your email list up and running. But what makes an email that works? Because I see a lot of emails, I read a lot of emails. I'm always very interested in how emails are structured. I love words. I'm a word detective. I love collecting words. If I see an interesting word, I write it down. I have a spreadsheet with words, always trying to see, how can you word things, because it's an art form. And it's just something I've always been passionate in, because I love reading and I love words. But how do you use these words to communicate your goal? It's something that you want to say very intentionally. And there's a basic structure of how an email is effectively seen and heard and awakens the interest of your followers. Just to make it a little bit artistic, I've got a little sketch doll here, and because we are visual, I thought I'd make it visual, and just to explain to you the anatomy of what a good email looks like. We start with the head. The header, your website also has a header, but also your email has a header, and that is also called the subject line. We have the body of the email, so that's the main message that you have, that you want to communicate. Then we have the footer, the bottom part of your email, an important part, and it's usually overlooked by many, many creatives. That is so valuable, the footer. You can add your signature, and you can add that PS. Maybe you've seen that in emails, that there's that PS at the bottom. You can use that very intentionally, very strategically. And then what you definitely need is a call to action. Remember, every email should have a goal, and you should have some desired outcome. So there should be something, that you are appealing, you are telling, you are showing, you are encouraging, you are nudging and poking people to take some kind of action, whether that's a link to your website or to you asking a question to join your email list. There should always be some kind of call to action. It's not just a passive one-way conversation. This is a place, using your email, is to engage in a conversation. And the more open you can keep that conversation, the better. Asking for those replies, and then we have to find creative ways, not that we're answering emails every single day, all day, because we need to make our art, but there are very creative ways that you can find, have that interaction. So a subject line, the body, the footer, so the signature, and the PS, important parts of your email structure. And all these parts will either amplify what you're trying to say or distract from it. And of course, we're here to make effective emails. So we want all these sections aligned, all these main parts aligned in your email. Let's start with the subject. The subject line is the most important part of your email. People don't read. We are glancing. And a subject line is what appears if you in your mail program, you see that on your mobile when you get an email. Have a look, start being very alert when you're getting emails. And those few words that you see in the subject line, that's what is going to either trigger someone to open an email or not. So I usually spend more time in my subject lines than on the email itself. So don't just think newsletter, that's my subject. No, you want to have something that's appealing. It's a place of decision. That one line, those few words, is a place of decision, whether I'm going to be opening it up or whether I'm not going to be opening up. And these are challenges. It's a challenging thing to write because you have only a few words. You don't want to have it long. You don't, because the spam filters, if it's too long or you capitalize too much, then it goes into the spam folder, depending how the spam filters are set up. So getting the right amount of words, the right words that will entice people, challenge, bring people to open up that email. It's often the only thing people read. So make it count, those few words. Tell people why they should be opening up this email. What is in this email? What is it worth their while? And then brainstorm. So what I usually do is, if I have a new email coming out, I just write down all kinds of subject lines. What subject line would get me to open up an email? What would inspire me to open up an email? Write down these subject lines, of course, depending on what you're writing about. Anyone here have thought about subject lines, really focused, the people that are writing? Hi, Yael. Welcome to the session. That are writing emails. How do you go about your subject? About finding the right subject. And you can try, this is trial and error. If you're using an email service provider, that means there's a program like MailChimp or Flowdesk that are really organizing your content, that have templates and also the statistics. You can see what emails are opening and what emails are not. And you can try a little longer subject lines, shorter subject lines, more emotive words or questions or cliffhangers, words that really are, that one people are wanting to read on. Try different things out and then go and have a look and see what is working and what is maybe not working so effectively. And then you'll start understanding your audience, you'll get your tone of voice, and you can use that space far more effectively. So subject lines, I have made a list. There's, you can brainstorm so many different kinds of subject lines, but it's just here to get your creative juices going. Welcome to my studio. So it's not just newsletter. It's like maybe you are inviting new people onto your mailing list, and it's welcome to my studio. Maybe you've just had an exhibition and you're doing a follow-up email. And you can say the most popular piece surprised me. I mean, that's like, okay, I want to know what was the most popular piece that was sold. Well, that surprised you. I can't believe what my art buyer told me. What did your art buyer tell you? What did that person tell you? Cliffhanger. Mind if I share my inspiration with you? Question mark. Questions work very well because you are asking for engagement. There's a conversation that's already happening in your subject that you want people to open up and to take a look. Have a look inside my studio, or something that's new that's happening in your studio. There's so much possible. Get into the habit of brainstorming subject lines. Important part of the anatomy of any successful email. Then we have the body of the text, so the main part of text. There's the part that it says to or dear, or not. Try and make it as personal as possible. Try and get the name of the person. So if you're pitching to a gallery or pitching for a commission, get a name. So it's not just sir or madam. Do some research on LinkedIn or on social channels, or ask around, who is the person that I need to be addressing this to? And then find your tone of voice. Do you want to say dear or to or good afternoon? You can also personalize that if you have an email service provider, so it adds in the name that they've put in the opt-in form. So that's the addressing, opening of the body text. Keeping your goal in mind. So have a clear goal. This is why I'm writing this email. And then keep it short paragraphs, short sentences, because people aren't reading. You should actually, just with highlights, you can use different. You can go italic, you can use bold. Don't make it a circus. Keep it stylish, keep it easy to read. You can use bullet points so that people get the gist of what you're saying. And of course, being an artist, you can add an image so that you're substantiating what you're trying to say. So it's easy to read. You're starting strong. So if you've got, the piece that sold first surprised me, that's that's how you're going to start the conversation. You can tell them then about the exhibition and about some of the responses. Add a testimonial of people that engage with your art. And then that whole argument, I'm an artist, I'm not a writer, don't make it too difficult. Don't overcomplicate this. Write like you talk. So get into the conversation mode in your head, because something happens between our brain, our pen, and a paper, because we think now it's like for real, I need to get these words out. But maybe you can use your recorder on your mobile and just talk. How would you share with someone? You're not standing face to face with them. You're putting that info in written form. How can you write that down? What kind of words? So if you don't usually say, hey, doll, how's your day? That's not your tone of voice. Don't use it. Find what you are comfortable. How are you talking? So if people meet you in person, they see similar language in your emails. And then you're speaking to a human being. You're not writing, to a machine. These are human beings that get emails all the time. And if they're on your following, then adapt your tone of voice. You can add the illustrations, make sure that they're not too heavy so that they have to take forever to load, because that will be totally a turn off. People won't be opening that email. And to add an illustration or a little doodle or something that is visually attractive. And then the body needs the goal with a call to action. So adding a link really helps. So you can make a hyperlink. Most emails, you can do that. You can highlight a certain text, go to my website, and then the word website, you are going to add a link to that word, so that if people click on that, then they can go to your website. Which, by the way, is great to know who is engaging with your content, because you'll see a click rate. Who is clicking on buttons? Because these are people that are invested, they are taking their trouble not only to read, but to click on a button. And this gives you statistics of who is interested. And you can, if you really want to get in detail, these people, you can send another email in the future. These are people that have been onto your website. Thank you for visiting my website. Did you find what you were looking for? You can send a follow-up email, because all that will be in your email service provider. You'll see who's opened. You'll see people that have unsubscribed. You'll see people that have been clicking. You'll see people, who have, you'll see all the statistics, which makes great business sense because you can start getting very specific. But maybe that's, don't overcomplicate things. It's more, how can you get the best possible results with the words that you say? That body text needs to have some thought. Next week, we'll look at different kinds of emails, because that also will depend and show the structure of your body text. Because if you're writing a sales email, it's a different email than an invite email. And that's a different email than you pitching your work for a commission or to a gallery, because that you structure the journey through that email differently. But more about that next week. And then end with an invitation. Ask a question or invite them to buy that e-ticket. Engage with your book. Send them a preview. Maybe Rebecca was saying that she had this new book presentation. Can you print out or have a PDF with the first 2 chapters, or the first chapter, or the first page, that people can have a sneak peek? Go and have a sneak peek, or there's a video there where I explain a little bit more about the book. Call to action, action. And I know this may seem a lot of work, but you're not only making your art, you want to get your art out there. And this is part of your business strategy. Any questions about the body part of the email? Yes, Jan, maybe you have to curate your accent a little bit. He says, if I write like a talk, I might offend people because he has a certain accent. But I'm sure that's going to be totally fine. Put in your personality, sprinkle your personality to the things that you're saying. You are not talking to a machine, you are talking to people. And Dido has the Rotterdam accent. So the body, give it some thought, and the more you do it, the more you're going to get familiar with finding words, getting the words, get into the routine of writing, and then keep it, you'll have, of course, in your email service product, you'll see the emails that you've been sending, and you can go back and read and see what has been effective, what works, what doesn't work. I test, longer emails, shorter emails, more links, less links, illustrations, bigger illustrations, smaller illustrations. I test that and I see, what is more effective. And it all boils down to shorter emails work the best, subject lines that really have an appeal, that are really drawing people in, that are getting more openings. And if there's a link that's appealing or attractive, a hyperlink, that brings far more traffic to my website. So you can do that testing and evaluating. That signature, that ending, how you're ending off your email, is also a valuable part of your email, because generally what people reading they're reading your subject and they're reading the signature, because that's how the eye jumps. They usually jump right over the body of the text unless they're really invested, they're really followers and fans and collectors, and they really want to read about you. But I'm sorry to say, but usually it's just the subject line, and then they jump to the signature, because that's also the eye is looking for rhythm, and that's at the bottom. And make that signature part count, make it personal. So you adding your your signature, like I sign off with my own name. I've had it scanned in, my signature, or just my first name, depending on who my audience is. I have that as a personal touch. Add your details. If you have a web address or a postal address or a studio address where people need to be going, add that in your signature. And have clear details. If you want people to go to your social, if you want people to go to your website, have that clear. Also here, be very intentional, because people, if there's too many things, people won't choose. So instead of adding all your social icons, choose one where you have some kind of special, where you have maybe your URL of something, your book coming out, or of that new exhibition. So make it very intentional. You can change your signature all the time. I have different signatures depending on who I'm emailing to, with different URLs, with different artwork, with different look and feel. So make that count. And then don't forget your branding, because the branding is your identity. It's the colors that you're using, your font that you're using, the imagery that you're using. Maybe you have a quote or a tagline that you have on your website. Add it to your signature too. You can add that to your website, to your email, using an image and add a link. So make sure that there's a dynamic place at the bottom. Who is using a signature in their email? Let me know in the comments. Anyone using a signature, the people that are sending out emails already or wanting to send out emails, is this something that you're going to be adding? It's like a business card. It's you're sending that email anyway. And whether I'm sending it to my dentist, I have a signature, because who knows, the dentist might be looking for artwork for his studio. I've had so many wonderful connections where it wasn't like directly linked, but because there was a signature, people ended on my website and became invested in what I was doing. So not only just to art followers on your email list when you're sending emails to other spaces, if it's relevant, add your signature. Dida says, yes, I do. Very good. So take some time to look at your email construction and see how can you add your signature, how can you update your signature. I also have an artist friend, and she's she's a working artist, and she always felt the pressure that she needed to answer her email straight away. So then I'd hear that ping, and I'd think, oh, distracted, and then I'd have to answer. And she's made it really easy for herself with a notification that says, very friendly, I'm in my studio painting away. I will look at my emails twice a week, on a Monday and on a Friday. I'll be getting back to you. So she's just taken the pressure off herself. She's made clear expectations in her signature for the people that are inquiring about a commission or about artwork. She gives lots of workshops. It's clear, Monday and Friday, I respond to my emails. You'll be hearing from me. So she's taken the pressure off herself and clear expectations with the people that are emailing her. So this is something that you could also add to your signature. And then the PS. This is also a valuable part underneath the email. It's the PS. It's the postscript, something that we've, of course, adopted from when you're writing a letter and oops, forgot to say something. There was no Tipp-Ex or delete button. You didn't want to change the whole letter. You put the postscript underneath your letter. That's what PS is. And this is also very strategic because the I goes from the subject to the signature to the PS. It's an extra piece of information that you could add. And now, of course, we have delete buttons. You could put it in your body of your email. But this is something, studies have been done, that people click far more on a link in the PS than in the body of the text, because there's so much to read. So you can use that PS in your communication. It's an afterthought. You can add the URL of your website. Oh, make sure that you head over, because I have a new painting out. It's just fresh, it's just dry, and it's now in my shop. Have a look. And then there's the button to that area in your shop. Or I've just revamped my website. Or I have a new post on Instagram. Please tell me what you think about it. Put it in your PS with a hyperlink so that people can take action. Amplifying what maybe you've said in your core text. It's a reminder, it could be a call to action. So using that PS area, good part of the anatomy of your email. This is an email I sent out, I think I sent it out on Monday. I usually send out my emails to my email list on Monday. If you're not on my email list, please, you're welcome to join in. You can head over to my website. There is an opt-in form, but I usually try and add, as I said, the subject line. This was, who is reading your mail? Because it was all about writing that effective email. Short question, and you can add an emoji. So here I've added an emoji that's to your subject line, because that also, with all the emails that you're getting, it adds, to that attention. You're getting people's attention. So add an emoji, not hundreds, and make it relevant. Keep it stylish and keep it relevant for what you're saying. You can add an emoji. Then I use graphics. I have sort of a set template that I make in I use Spark, but you can use Canva with your branding, with your fonts and the communication style that you want to, the brand style elements. You can add that on top of your emails so that it makes it a little bit more appealing. Why should people be reading this? And then I have a place where I can personalize my emails. So after hello, there would be the name of a person, and so that it's a little bit more personal. Then short and sweet, using paragraphs, so not all the text together, some white space. It's like breathing. You don't want to be talking all the time because people really will be overwhelmed if you're not taking a breath, and people really won't be tuning in because they're thinking, when is she going to be taking a breath? It's the same with writing. You want to add white space because that gives your brain just time to digest what you've just said and then take you to the next thought. And then keywords you can highlight, because that also will invite people to read on. So every thought should spark another thought. Why should it be taking me to the next sentence? And then I have a part where I was talking about this session, all the details of where they can tune in. There's a hyperlink that they can join the Facebook community. I use emojis. Then I have my signing off. I have my signature, which is my handwritten signature that's been scanned in, an image, and then I have my PS, which goes to the Facebook community or to my website. Very intentional. That's where I want people to visit, because that's where I have my content. That was the goal of my email. My challenge for you guys is to research 3 artists or brands that you really admire. Get onto the email list and start dissecting emails. This is so important for the business side of your art, because this is how we are communicating. And this can make a huge difference in how people are interacting with your content, whether they're going to know that you have that exhibition, that you have your book, that you have your new work coming out. This is where you can start reaching them. So go and be inspired and just see what's out there. Find those 3 artists that you really feel something, you really admire their brands, and they have an opt-in form. Get onto their email lists. Look at how often are they sending, what's their tone of voice, what subject lines are they using, and if they've got cool subject lines, just copy paste them in a document. You don't have to, copy them one-on-one, but just to get you inspired. What is a good subject line? What subject lines are getting you to open emails? And just become that email detective, because if you want to make this part of your email strategy, you need to start standing out and getting people to open up that open button, so that it's not just lost in all that noise, because it's such a waste of your time. Next week, guys, we'll be looking at the different kinds of emails. Every email has a goal, and there's a different way of laying out how you're going to be writing about that email. I also want to open up the floor for questions. If there's any questions about the anatomy of an email, or maybe other art-related questions as far as communicating or build your business, we can have a look at that. We still have a few minutes, and love to get your questions asked. Ditto says, what is a CTA? And I see Anya has answered the question. It's a call to action. It's just a slick marketing term for call to action. It's where it's a button, something in a different color. It's a hyperlink. It's a question where you are asking people to take action. Should be in every email. Jan said, would a PS be effective to put a citation of a well-known artist, strongly related to me or my inspiration? Jan, you could put that as a tagline under your signature, because that's not directly a call to action. It's more inspiring. It says something about your brand. It says something about your point of vision. So definitely add quotes. They're always very effective. People love to, read quotes, especially if they're very powerful words that are really curated and that shows something about your messaging. So add that underneath your signature. But the PS, I would put definitely a call to action. So something that you can click on, something that sort of is the core of what you've been communicating in the body of your text. Dita says, do you always use your name, signature photo in every mail or just your mailing list? I change different signatures depending on who I'm sending my emails to. Sometimes I don't have my photo. Sometimes I have a promotional thumbnail at the bottom of my signature. I have a new course, or I have a new, I have something that's happening in my community. I add that at the bottom as a link, and I'll also hyperlink an image, because it's not just a photo. In every mail program, even if you're using Google Mail, you can put a hyperlink on that nice thumbnail. So if people are scrolling with their mouse, they see a hand coming up, and if they click on that photo, they come to your website or wherever. So that's also just a tip for you. Every image that you add to your email, make sure you hyperlink it, so that it's a button that actually goes somewhere. So now I changed it my signature depending on who I'm talking to and whatever I think it's appropriate. But generally, of course, I use my name, just my first name of people that are in my community, or I use my full name if people are not directly in that first circle of my community. Let's see. Rebecca says, I always put my logo in my emails. Good job, Rebecca. Adds to your branding. It shows something familiar. You're making differentiation between all the other mail that's coming in. People see, hey, that's from Rebecca, something familiar that's coming in. Jan says, I will be using my logo as a default header. Yeah, very good. And you can change things up as well. Keep the branding consistent, but you can change things up as well so that it is interesting for people. But give people a point of reference so they think, hey, that's from Jan. So Dida says, okay, different signatures too, depending on the sender. Yeah, you can change that. Any more questions, guys? I'm so excited to see your emails. If you have a place where I can join your email list, then please let me know. Also add it to the Facebook community if you're watching the replay, or when we finish the session, send us a place where we can go to the opt-in forms. And if you are going to be busy with your email list developing, maybe like, yes, you're going to first do your website, then you're going to get that opt-in form on your website. Start doing some research. If you have interesting opt-in forms, the people that are already busy, add them to the community, because really we can learn from one another. I love Rebecca, it looks professional. I'm not quite sure what the reference is, but I think there's a link to that. But I love the word professional. The more professional that you come across, people will take you seriously. If you've thought about it, you've done something intentional, it's not just slapdash, you're putting something on paper and you're sending it. That extra bit of thought, adding your branding, will show that you're a professional working artist, and people will respect you for it, and they will take the trouble to read. So the energy and the love you're putting into the things that you're communicating, you're going to be reaping that, where people are going to pay attention. So it's so worth getting it out properly. Yes, what a journey. For sure, it's a journey, and we're all learning and we're all taking steps, but these are little wins. These are, we're sending emails all the time, whether all the time we're sending emails. That's just how we communicate nowadays. And if we can just tweak that, what you're already doing, and as far as your art business, that could make a huge difference. And, especially if you're building that email list, you're going to get attention, and people are going to be looking out for the things that you're doing. Great, Jan. Thank you. Looking forward to that invitation when you start your email list. Yes, we'll be looking out at your community. I know Jan has a regular blog. Then please head over to each other's email and websites so we can have a look. Marie says, I would use some of my artwork as part of the header and my logo as a signature. Yeah, good idea. Adding your branding, showing already a teaser of something that you are busy with, working on. So great, guys, to interact with you. Thank you so much for spending this Wednesday with me in this Wednesday session. I'll be seeing you in the Facebook community. I look forward to getting emails next week about those different kinds of emails, because it just will give you a little bit of that differentiation of what you should be focusing on. And so I look forward to meeting you in that session. any questions that you have, add the hashtag Q&A in the Facebook community, and then we can continue the conversation there. I just wish you a wonderful afternoon and a good week. Keep making your beautiful art, share it in the group, and we'll be connecting next time. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you for showing up. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.